Yeah, where was I? Where was I before I started living in Hutt? Yeah, and we did these demonstrations, and I used to spear fish for living, for food rather. Most of our food was good, healthy fish, protein, and we just made up money just to get by. I won't dwell on this because it's just not worth dwelling, but it was a significant thing happened in my life when we were travelling. I think it was, I should remember, Bairnsdale, Coastal Bairnsdale. Met a Salvation Army minister, and I talked with him. My wife was always a Christian before he's a Christian, and I went to church. Didn't mean anything to me, but we got talking to this guy, and one night at his house, he took us in with his wife and had a meal, and in the conversation, and I think I've got this in my book, he was talking about this book, about this Christian revival in Indonesia. It's a book called Like a Mighty Wind, and for whatever reason, I just sensed that God was real. I'm not here to convert you, not here to preach anything at all, far from it actually. But I just want to say, it was an amazing feeling of softness, something happened in me, a realisation that God was real, that I had nothing to fear, not like my life or my eternity. It was just a warm, true, genuine feeling that was more than an emotional feeling, it was something deeper. And so from that day to this, that changed me. But my perspective on, things spiritual has been a growing and moving target. If you have a spiritual perspective, whether you're a Christian or a Buddhist or whatever it is, your life in that area evolved. And it's been that's been great because been a fun part of my life. But that was significant. But look, we continue to travel. One of the fun things we used to do, I think it was in Narooma, the local newspaper guy got hold of us and said, like, small towns sort of want to make something of themselves. So, wow, we'll get hold of these people. They organised a semi-trailer at a drive-in theatre. Don and I did a demonstration on the back of a semi-trailer in replacement of the first film, before the feature film. I used to like doing demonstrations at the small towns where you'd have all the local football guys come in. They were pretty tough guys. Back in those days, karate was a physical thing. Football is obviously a physical thing. There was a degree of, we're more macho than you. Who are you, And I remember part of my demonstration was to lie between two chairs. 3 chairs, take the wheelchair away and lay suspended, rigid, and get people to punch me in the stomach. I remember one tough guy, really was wanting to be cool. He broke his wrist on my stomach. I shouldn't say that because that's not love. Maybe it's but that was fun times. Look, we came back about 6 months later. Don and I were in Gosford. A friend came up and said, and we were ready to do something for a living, what we're going to do. I never had any sense of, I was always wanting to do something different. I didn't really want to be stuck in a job as such, I didn't know what I was going to do really, and I'm trying to retrace my steps here. What happened? Whether this was before or after. Yes. Before that time, John and I got a theatrical agent, and we were doing demonstrations in clubs. Who's heard of Jimmy Little, who sung "Telephone to Glory"? Something. Remember that song? It goes back a long way. And he was had a profile, had a name. He was an Aboriginal guy, a singer. So we were a lead act for him once, but we didn't handle it properly, and we were immature. We were sometimes late to our meetings, and our theatrical agent fired us. We could have chased it down further. Anyway, look, this friend came up to us and said, "How would you like to earn a lot of money and get rich. And there's this new business starting in Sydney. We thought, fantastic, who wouldn't, you know? So very naively, Don and I went to a meeting. There was a stack of products sitting on a red velvet thing in a lounge room in a house with a friend of ours, and it was, they didn't tell us what was happening at the meeting, but it was these cleaning products. It was a company called Best Line. Like Amway, you know, like, who's heard of Golden Products years ago? Who heard of Spike? That goes back a long way. I like Spike, you know. And of course there's Tupperware, Avon, a lot of established direct-to-consumer marketing companies. We didn't know anything about this sort of stuff. They said how you could make a lot of money, and we thought, wow, this is good. And when I heard the whole thing, I thought, we could do this. In fact, why not? But it cost, back 35, 40 years, back in 1972, it cost about $4,000 to buy into it. But you've got products, so if you decided that you just want to bomb out and phase out, you could sell the products and recoup your money. So it felt safe. But when I wanted to try and get a loan, my brother-in-law said, it's a con, it's a pyramid thing, you'll go broke. I know people who've got a grudge for a soap but it doesn't sell. The bank manager said the same thing, my uncle said the same thing. My mum and dad were naive, but they didn't know, but they were influenced and said, well, son, you shouldn't do it, it's risky. I said, I know, but I really think I can do it. And I sussed out everything I could about the company and believed it was all legitimate. But I'm hearing all these negative stories. Who does that scenario, anyone, yeah, think of all people? But I pushed on. Mum and Dad finally lent me money to join. I followed their system. I got out and worked. I had a strong work ethic. I wanted to work. And I went to the meetings, and I was successful. And I became the top distributor in Australia. And I saw that a lot of people weren't successful. A lot of people complained. And they caused that company and companies similar to get a bad name. And I realised that it wasn't the company or the marketing system the problem. It was people expecting to get rich without working. And it doesn't work. 2 and 2 does not make 5. 2 and 2 makes 4. You know, there's a natural, you know, just the law of nature says that you're just not going to get something for free. There is not a free lunch. And I learned that, and I wasn't skilled in business. I just worked properly, and I learned something there. And it was a great company. It was a very good company. A guy called Bill Bailey, William E. Bailey, was the founder of the company. It was very motivational, a lot of philosophy, very strong principles that I support today, that we'll talk a bit about later, were part of what it was all about. Bill Bailey was on a tape recording. Well, this man built this company, and in a 3-year period, it was turning over $1 billion, on today's dollar, over $1 billion turnover a year, up to 3 years. Phenomenal success. He was awarded the Horatio Allen Award, a high business prestige award in America, awarded presented by Norman Vincent Peale, Reverend Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote the book Power of Positive Thinking. So Bill Bailey was a real icon, but very fast growth entrepreneur. He said in one of his tapes, I'm absolutely proud of what I've built. This business is integrity. I don't hide for anything. I've got a listed phone number. I'm happy to talk to anybody anytime. Well, that's interesting. So I phoned him. I'm one of 100,000 part and full-time distributors in this company around the world. I got hold of him somehow at his home. Got my long story short. And his son booked me, so I'll go and get Dad for him. I'm going to talk to this man. And he gave me 10, 20 minutes of his time. I thought, this is amazing. And now I called him a couple more times. Then I ended up being transferred to Toronto, Canada with the company. By this time, Bill had a heart attack. It had an equilibrium problem in his ear, and he couldn't travel. And he retired from the company. He was a hillbilly originally, like literally the hills of Kentucky in Appalachia. And that's where he came from. One of 13 people in the family, literally a hillbilly. Most amazing speaker. And I years later I went to track him down, but I couldn't just trace where he was. found him a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I Googled him, just had given it up, and there he was. I sent him an email, didn't get a response somehow. Sent it to an address, a copy of my autobiography, with the hard copy email explaining the impact he had on my life. And I got a voicemail back on the phone, and I phoned him. It was very, very exciting. Spoke to him, he invited me to his house in Kentucky. And I went there with my daughter about 3 years. I spent 2 days with him. And he took me way back it took me about half an hour drive back right into the hills where he was born. He showed me his house and the 40 acres of land he used to plough, you know, with he's really from grassroots stuff, you know. His dad said, if you don't plough, you don't get paid. That settles that, you know. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and that was his work ethic, you know. And that's why he was the man he was. So that was a real goal achieved just recently for me.